Good morning, race fans. Welcome to another edition of perhaps the best day of my life since Silverstone 2024. This weekend was the Formula One 2025 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, and something amazing happened, which I shall not reveal yet because you'll have to watch the video to find out. Although you've probably already seen the race and you know what I'm talking about. But in case you don't, just know that the race was pretty darn good, which was honestly the bare minimum we could expect from Jeddah, which is such a high-speed, challenging track. But after this very long triple header, tensions were running high and the competition was peak. So let's talk about how it all went down here at the Race Day Cafe. Going into the weekend, there isn't a whole lot to talk about other than during a press conference, David Croft asked Max Verstappen about the possibility of him leaving Red Bull. Because now that the car is not great, there's been a lot of rumors, especially about Max going to Mercedes or Aston Martin. And Max just said, "Just focus on commentating, I'll focus on driving." Absolutely clocked his T. You go, girl. In free practice, Pierre Gasly did it again by topping the charts in FP1. I love how he just appears out of nowhere sometimes, like a ghost with unfinished business.
Boom. Bitch, I'm a ghost.
And then in FP2, Yuki Tsunoda crashed his car in exactly the same spot as Leah Block did in F1 Academy qualifying, which can only mean one thing. Yuki Tsunoda does not watch F1 Academy. Wow. Not very feminist of you, Yuki. Then we move on to qualifying, and my god, was this a good qualifying. Fast forward through Q1 and Q2, we don't care, because Q3 did not come to play. Because right at the start of Q3, Lando Norris crashed his car right into the wall and brought out a red flag. I have to say I do feel sorry for him. I mean, I thought this was going to be his big comeback after his mistake in Bahrain, but I guess clearly that was not going to happen. So now with Norris out of the game, it's a free-for-all for all the fast cars left on the grid, and it is chef's kiss. George Russell does a lap, breaks the track record. Oscar Piastri does a lap, breaks the track record. And finally, Max Verstappen does a lap, and you guessed it, he breaks the track record. That is what I call an expertly crafted 10 out of 10 delicious qualifying session. No notes. Now let's move on to the race. Right at the start, Oscar dashed towards Max and almost took the lead. And in that fight, there was this little moment where Max cut through the corner, which we'll get back to that in a second. And immediately Jeddah delivers on its 100% guaranteed safety car policy. Because Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda made contact going into turn 4 and they both DNF'd. Here's a reminder that both of them were starting the weekend in really good positions. So then we have a safety car for a few laps, and then, hey, remember that weird move that Max did on Oscar earlier by cutting the corner? Yeah, the FIA decided not so fast, buddy, and dropped a 5-second penalty on him. And then nothing really happened between these two for a while. So let's go back to Lando Norris, who, as you'll remember, started the race in P10. And by now he's reached Lewis Hamilton, so he overtakes him. Never mind, Lewis takes it right back. So Lando waits for the next lap, and then he overtakes him. Never mind, Lewis passes him again. Damn it. So Lando waits for the next lap, and then he actually does overtake him. Finally. Whew, that was embarrassing to watch. Thankfully, he did pass Kimi Antonelli after that. Much cleaner. Finally, people start to pit around lap 20, and of course, Oscar Piastri has the slowest pit stop of all time. And when Max sees this, it becomes kind of a battle between Oscar trying to undercut Max and Max trying so hard to build a gap to compensate for the penalty that he has to serve. But ultimately it is in vain because Max finally pits and serves his penalty and he comes out behind Oscar. This will have consequences later. By the way, I need to mention this sick overtake that Oscar does on Lewis Hamilton. It reminded me a lot of his move on him in Australia, just the same level of badassery. It was at this point when Fernando Alonso gave us another safety car scare by almost running into Gabriel Bortoleto. It's a good time to remind everyone that Fernando Alonso is Bortoleto's manager. I imagine they must have had a very awkward conversation after that. We kind of get another dry spell here, and Lando's leading the race, but unfortunately those hard tires don't last forever, so eventually he had to go for mediums. If only there had been another safety car. Lance Stroll, where are you when we need you? On lap 38, Leclerc overtook George Russell for P3, and then a few laps later, Lando started getting close to Charles Leclerc with much fresher tires. And this is the part where I learned from Crofty's commentary that apparently last lap Lando is a thing. It was the first time I've heard it, for sure. Ultimately though, there was no last lap Lando because he couldn't even get within DRS range of Charles. And so we look back to the top of the order where after getting clean from Max Verstappen a long time ago, Oscar Piastri wins the race and leads the World Drivers' Championship with Verstappen in P2 and Leclerc in P3. I cannot express what I'm feeling right now. The sun is out, my skin is clear, my crops are flourishing, my hotel is Trivago. You'd think I was Australian at this point. I'm basically an Australian citizen. G'day, mates. Get me some of that Vegemite or something. And as always, Piastri celebrated it by giving us absolutely nothing over the radio. Thanks, I guess. So that was a summary of the race. Now let's get into my superlatives. This week's ace of the race is none other than Oscar Piastri. My man's leading the championship. Need I say more? After the battle with Max was over, all he had to do was keep it a clean race, be careful on the turns, and manage his tires. And that's exactly what he did. So 10 out of 10, no notes, perfect race. Also, now that we've seen Oscar be a victim to Max's little mind games on track, it seems like he's a lot stronger to it than his teammate was last year. I mean, Max messed pretty bad with Lando last year because he knew he could, because he knew that Lando would fall victim to it. But Oscar seems to be completely unbothered by what he did at the start. I mean, he said his piece over the radio, but then he just moved on. I think it really caught Max by surprise, actually, that he wasn't really falling for his tricks. So that's pretty commendable too, in my opinion. Not trying to say anything bad about Lando, I think most drivers would fall for Max's psychological warfare. It just seems like Oscar is a little bit of a cut above the rest when it comes to being mentally tough, and I think that'll serve him well going into this championship. My honorable mention for ace of the race is Charles Leclerc. Finally, a Ferrari on the podium this season. Took y'all long enough, but this time it was less because Ferrari had a good strategy and more because Charles made the strategy work for him. It was a textbook example of the driver making the difference. Leclerc started in 4th place, but unlike everyone else who pitted around lap 20, Leclerc held on until lap 30. So by the time he put on the mediums, he had much fresher tires than everybody else. And boy howdy did he fly.
I believe I can fly.
George never stood a chance, and by the end of the race, neither did Lando. Overall, a pretty brilliant race from Charles Leclerc. Mamma mia. This weekend's disgrace of the race is Mercedes. It feels weird to say because Mercedes has been so consistently good so far this season, but today they were pretty weak, to be honest. Russell just lost all his pace when he got on the hard tires and he got overtaken by Charles and Lando. And so by the end of the race, he'd been pushing so much that his tires were gone, and he dropped down massively. Thankfully, his teammate Kimi Antonelli was the person right behind him, so it was not really a problem, but the gap between them went from 14 seconds to 7 seconds in just a few laps. And Antonelli just never really had the pace at all. He was pretty much gone the entire time. To be fair, I can't imagine how hard this race must have been for Kimi. Our baby rookie just isn't used to tracks like Jeddah. Aww. So cute. This weekend's strategy masterclass comes from Williams. Y'all know that this is kind of a Williams delusion channel, but oh my god, what Williams did this weekend was so good. Alex Albon started the race 11th and went up to 9th because of Gasly and Tsunoda's incident. And Carlos Sainz went from 6th to 8th after being overtaken by some of the faster cars, Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. So pretty much the entire race, the two Williams were together, with Carlos being slightly faster. But then on lap 44, they started hearing the Jaws theme because Isaac Hadjar was approaching Albon with fresher tires. So the team told Carlos to give Alex DRS to keep him away. And by the power of friendship, the two Williams fended off against Hadjar and brought home 6 beautiful points for Williams, which put them back to 5th in the Constructors' Championship. It was great to see the Williams working together and bringing in some double points, and the way they did it was just awesome, so kudos to them. And along those lines, this weekend's underdog shoutout goes to Carlos Sainz. Finally, he's done something good in that Williams. Finally, he's brought it home. I think this deserves an honorary smooth operator. Now for my favorite radio of the week. There was not much in the way of good team radios to talk about this weekend, but I will highlight Max's reaction to his 5-second penalty. Because when he got pole position on Saturday, he blessed us with a "Simply Lovely," and after he got his penalty, he cursed us with a "Well, that is fucking lovely." I never knew that Simply Lovely had an evil twin. Well, other than the time Lando used it sarcastically in Zandvoort, which was different, but also had very bad vibes. Speaking of Max Verstappen, he'll be getting this week's Drama Queen Award. It's been a long time since I've seen a cool down room as chilly as this one. Max was absolutely seething about that penalty. Even in the post-race interview, you hear him say, "I'm gonna keep this short," and you know he's mad. Buddy, I understand you're upset because it cost you the race, but it was kinda your fault. And you do shit like this like every other weekend. So yeah, congrats, Diva. You are a drama queen. For the best part of the weekend, Oscar Piastri leading the championship. Next question. The worst part of the weekend was seeing how defeated Lewis Hamilton is about his performance so far. Just before the weekend, he said that he was just seeing if he could get in the top 10 this week. And then after qualifying, he made these comments about needing a brain transplant because he's just not adapting to Ferrari at all. He just looks so defeated, and it makes me really sad, especially having known a Lewis Hamilton that was determined, that was hungry, that had that killer instinct on track. And of course, the conversation has been going into, is Lewis washed? And I hate it so much. I hate the thought of that. I don't know. I'm hoping and praying that Lewis can find his footing, but we also know that Ferrari is pretty infamous for destroying the careers of a few world champions and non-world champions. So yeah, I don't know if I have enough copium to handle this one, chat. Overall, I'm going to rate this race a 4 out of 5 stars. It was good, but maybe not as good as you would expect for a track like this. Just almost there in terms of quality, but frustratingly just not quite. Like Alonso being in P11 again. Gods of Formula 1, why do you do this to me? Lastly, let's review our year-long bingo. And damn it! Still nothing. We started the year off so well, and now it's flopping so hard. We did get a Williams double points, but we already had that. Also, looking at things like Gasly podium and Alonso masterclass after today makes me want to cry. Could we say this was a huge drama involving Max? I don't think we can call this a huge drama. The penalty was pretty uncontroversial. When I say huge drama, I mean more along the lines of what happened between Lando and Max in Austin, where he should have gotten a penalty but didn't. Or the whole bickering between him and George Russell in Abu Dhabi, which was so entertaining, by the way. So, I guess we'll keep waiting. That was all for this weekend. Thank you all for joining me at the Race Day Cafe. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And I want to know, what did you think of this race? And I want to know, what do you think of the proposed Qiddiya track? Have you seen the new renders for it? What do you think? Do you like it? Do you not? Well, it just so happens that I just made a video about it, which you can watch right here. So go watch that and tell me what you think. Thanks again for watching. Stay fueled, and I'll see you on the next race day.